other person could have, let's say, a red mark or a scratch. Hey everybody, it is David Kohlmeier, the Problem Solver. Thanks so much for joining us today. Today we are live talking about a very important topic, which is the active shooter situation in Texas. Again, this is a major topic right now that everyone's talking about. Again, welcome to the Problem Solver. Every single Thursday at approximately 4:30, we go live talking about different topics as the Problem Solver. The goal is to help people in the community, whether you're listening anywhere through the nation or through the world. The goal is that we're trying to help people. We're here in Las Vegas at Sticky Paws Studio. Today we have my co-host. We have Beja Rivera. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Dave. Hey, everyone.
Danny Miner, co-host as well.
Thank you, Dave. Hello, everyone.
So the three of us forming together as the Problem Solver or Problem Solvers is the goal is for us to add our little bit of input. Everyone has different background and expertise. Danny basically was a retired cop for 27 years. I was 17, so 27 minus 10 is 17, so it kind of matches somehow. It's meant to be. And then Beja works into the medical community, and she has a lot of knowledge and knows a lot of people in Las Vegas, so that's why. And as a parent, she brings a lot to the table as well. So thank you guys both.
He really wants to say, because I'm from the streets, that
is that what it is?
Yeah, he like wants the street intel. That's what he wants to say.
Technically, as retired cops, we are really from the streets.
That's true.
Because we work the streets. You're from the streets, we work the streets.
You're the ops.
So we're all from the streets, in different ways. So anyway, this is a serious topic. We're going to talk about the situation. I got the paper here, Las Vegas Review-Journal, 19 kids gone. The biggest thing is really getting some knowledge about this case. I know Danny's really good with studying, and I asked Danny always to study these things so he can bring insight about what took place. So Danny, tell us a little bit, what happened in Texas. Tell us a little bit of the story. Take your time, and then let's talk about it in general.
Okay. Well, the kid that did the incident, he was 18 years old. I've studied these cases over and over from Columbine, Virginia Tech. Also, where I'm from Lancaster, Pennsylvania. We had the Amish school shooting there, where a guy went into an Amish school, sort of like this, and killed all little Amish kids. He held them hostage and then killed them. The cops weren't able to get in. This incident reminds me of that because he barricaded himself in one room and he shot his grandmother before he went to the school. I don't know if it that.
Yeah, about this incident here.
Yeah,
so you're saying it's similar?
It's similar because he did the same thing. He went into an Amish school, barricaded himself in one room, and he actually left all the little boys leave and killed all the Amish girls for some reason. Wow. That's what happened in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. So this reminds me of, because he went into a school, he took over one room. I believe they were 9 and 10-year-old kids. This is unimaginable. I couldn't even believe that this happened.
Was there ever like a reason why he only murdered the
I have no idea. I know they're still investigating. He did say on Facebook he was going to do this. I believe he was given blow-by-blows on Facebook as the cops were outside the room because the cops couldn't get into the room. That's what I'm hearing right now. And he killed 19 children, I believe 2 adults. Cops did intervene when he first got there, but he got in a shootout with them. And then somehow he got in the room. And a big question coming right now is, why didn't the cops go in the room? Because of Columbine. Columbine was like the first real active shooter here in America, okay, that people remember, the Columbine incident, where 2 kids went in Columbine High School in Colorado, and they killed numerous kids and teachers. The kids actually decided to do the incident a year and a half ahead of time, and they planned it for a year and a half before they did it. But since the Columbine incident, the cops now go directly in to get the shooters. In the Columbine incident, they actually waited outside, and the cops didn't know any better. They used to do it like a hostage situation, like, hey, come out with your hands up. We have the place surrounded.
Right.
Of course, from the Columbine incidents, while they were saying we have the place surrounded, they're killing kids. So since that incident, all cops, and Dave will tell you that, all over the country are trained to immediately go after the shooter. So the minute you were there, you were going to confront the shooter. You're getting in a shootout with him. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. You're going to shoot him, and he's going to shoot at you. And that's it. And how they told us was, if not you, then who? They told us that day, we got to confront that shooter, even if it's one of us. Because if not you, then who? There's no one coming but you. You're it. You have to confront the shooter. You might die that day, but hey, we took an oath to die that day to save them kids.
Right, I understand that. And this is actually the second worst than the Sandy Hook incident.
Oh my God. I never thought we'd have an incident worse than that, and we do.
So not to quarterback the situation, because of course it's cops, retired cops. We don't like to quarterback the situation. For a little bit of the information, what's the story? Because it sounded like most people would say that, why didn't the police, jump in right away? Supposedly there was a police officer that worked that school in general.
Right.
And then something happened. There was a crash. And then somehow he's able to get inside
the classroom.
And it sounded like there was some type of engagement in regards to the officer and the bad guy. What's the story behind that? What do we know?
I heard there was an engagement, but somehow the cops weren't able to stop him. He gets in the room and barricades himself in the room. The cops cannot knock down the door for some reason. Parents, could you imagine this? Parents show up to the scene and are like, please go in and save my kid. Please go in and save my kid. The officers can't get in the door. They're screaming at the officers, go in the door, smash windows, this and that. The parents actually were planning to go in themselves.
I would have.
So would I. Listen, and I don't know, a lot of people on my TikTok, because I did a TikTok on this morning, they said the cops did engage, but they had to retreat. Listen, I'm not Monday morning quarterback, and I hate when people do that. But I could tell you, if I was on that scene, I'm going before 19 kids are.
Was it the
I'm dying
weapons?
that day to save them 19 kids. I could tell you that.
Weapons? The weapons that he had?
Yeah, he had weapons. I believe he had 2
So
assault
you're saying,
rifles.
like, regardless of anything? I mean,
Regardless, you have to risk your life. You swore. Listen, that day I put my hand up and I swore to protect the people of my community. I know that someday I might have to die because of that. And listen, I'm willing to die for 19 kids. If I'm there and them 19 kids died and I didn't die, I would feel bad.
You're going to make me emotional.
I'm starting to get emotional because there's no way I let them kids die. There's no way. And I'm not trying to quarterback these cops because I don't know everything. No way do I not go in that room. I don't know about you, Dave.
So, Beja, in regards to, just to kind of share a little bit to the community, most cops all over the United States are trained in regards to active shooter. Now, it could be a little bit different, but they're trying to have like a standard practice throughout the U.S. Years ago it was different, and then eventually when they do the training, they'll say this is the standard. Like you really should have 3 people, one that should be actively, shooting up front, one should be watching in the middle, and then one watching your back, literally, behind the middle cop. But if 2 cops show up, then there's actually, you hear gunshots, you're supposed to engage, listen to the sounds of the gunshots, and head to that location and to take out that subject to basically stop.
Action, yeah.
I mean, the goal is really to always stop the person, but if they're actively shooting, you're trying to kill the person because he's actively shooting and he's killing others in general, right? Like it's great, in the real world to apprehend them and for him to be placed in handcuffs, which would happen in New York, up in Buffalo at the supermarket, right? The guy stopped and he put his hands behind his back and so on. Of course, some people probably would say like they should have shot and killed him that day because he killed others.
He was an active shooter.
But in this situation, the goal is for the training. So again, we're not there. We don't want to totally quarterback the situation, but the goal is to get as quick as possible. Every situation can be a little bit different. I did hear they were trying to break some of the windows to try to gain entry. The question really comes down to, later on we'll find out what happened specifically. Every case can be a little bit different, and they always say it's very dynamic. This situation, most of the times we always hear it's more of the middle school, the junior high school, the high school. This is the first time that we've heard it like in elementary school, which is so tragic of the incident of 19, I think it's 4th graders that basically got killed, which I don't know of any other school situation that was elementary. Sandy Hook was junior high school, right?
I think it was elementary, Sandy Hook. I think I could be wrong, but I think this is the youngest group of children.
Yeah, I don't remember hearing 4th grade.
Yeah, I mean, this is just, it's uncomprehendable. I mean, I have a grandson that's in school.
Age difference.
I know.
Like, what happened?
I don't know. And he shoots his grandmother first. Elementary.
Yeah.
Yep. Elementary.
So, and then some people would always say, like, where's the cop at the time? There was a cop there. Right. Now the question in my mind, I'm saying, right, maybe there needs to be 2 cops at a location.
Yeah.
I think they were even saying Border Patrol.
It says that he had crashed the car into a ditch.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he was walking up to the school.
Okay.
So people saw him already.
Right.
Correct?
Right.
I mean, it must have been very quick.
There's so many details. I mean, for me, I'm thinking, okay, the time between when could have the police intervened. I mean, there's just so many questions. It's just a really difficult situation and a sad
and if you look at this picture in the Review Journal, it actually does show a Border Patrol agent. Some people say, like, well, why is Border Patrol? Like, I'm not exactly sure where this is, But when an active shooter situation happens, normally they're going to go like all citywide.
Yes.
Telling everybody there's an active shooter situation, whoever's nearby. And that's what's amazing about policing is that anybody that's law enforcement that gets notified if they're in the area, they're going to head to that location. You could have all kinds of different, right? In Pennsylvania, right? You could have different entities showing up. It could be wildlife. It could be, local PD. It could be state police, right? So everyone comes together. Most people don't really understand that, but whoever's in the area, it'd be very interesting how it plays out. Border Patrol was there. I'm not even sure how close this was to the border, or maybe it was an office. But I mean, this shows a Border Patrol agent, which is amazing, and that everyone's coming together when there's an active shooter situation. Again, the average person doesn't realize that. So tell us a little bit, Danny. I mean, you've studied this. You used to train active shooter. I've dealt with it in general. I never did any major training in the schools personally, even though I've talked about it, right, in general. Tell us some of the things, like if you're in school, God forbid it happened in Vegas or anywhere in general, give us some of the pointers. Like if I was a kid and I go home to my child who's in 2nd grade or 4th grade, what are some tips in regard to that situation, especially to the young kids?
Okay.
Give us some tips in general that are just straight out good tips, not that advanced.
Right. Here's something that I learned in one of the active shooters, and I can't remember if it was, it must have been Sandy Hook or one of the incidents, but we tell the kids to run, hide, and fight. That's what they tell us to do. With kids, you got to realize kids think there's rules. Okay, so they're like, if they hear something going on in school, they're not allowed to leave the classroom because the teacher's going to get mad at them, this and that. There was actually one school that didn't leave the classroom because they were afraid they were going to get in trouble. I believe this was Columbine. They were like, well, we can't leave the classroom because we're going to get in trouble. When there's a shooting like this, you got to tell your kids, you're not going to get in trouble. You can leave the school. You can run out of the school. You can leave your classroom. So running is the biggest thing. If you could escape, you have to escape. Hiding is the second thing, Dave. And I know we had a little trouble with this incident, but 9 times out of 10, the cops are responding. They're going to get there within 10 minutes, and they're going to immediately go and get after the suspect. So the longer you could hide, for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, the cops are coming. So we tell people to hide. The last thing would be to fight. Of course, an elementary school kid's not going to be able to fight. But as an adult, a school teacher, they have to fight. But I think this comes down to, what do we do to protect our schools now? I mean, that's the biggest thing. Our schools are not protected.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
I remember, I think it was in Texas, that there was they had this program, they wanted to train teachers to carry firearms. I think it was in Texas or Florida.
Right.
And have teachers armed. And some people are like, that's crazy. My teacher shouldn't be armed, right? Like,
right.
What are your thoughts? I mean, I know that's a little extreme, but like when you have situations like this, that teacher who had been trained with a firearm, and I'm sure it's Texas because Texas
we
is
talked about this before.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about that and having teachers, with...
This is what I think. Now, I'm a grandfather. My grandson's 7. I know you have a child. Dave has young kids, right? How would you feel if your kid was in that classroom and this was going on? You would definitely want that teacher to have a gun. Now, you might not think that now. You're thinking, well, I don't want a teacher to have a gun. But if an incident like this happened, you surely want somebody to have a gun. Mm-hmm. Because a gun could stop a bad guy. And I know there's a lot of people that don't like to hear that, but it's a fact. Guns stop bad guys. If good guys have guns, they stop bad guys. If one person has a gun, he can control 100 people.
And then you have the president making an announcement on behalf of gun control.
Yes. Well, that's the thing. That's what makes me sick about all of this. We take an incident where 19 elementary school kids have been murdered and people want to get votes for it. Beto out there in Texas decides to interrupt the press conference because he wants to get votes. It makes me sick. He doesn't care about these kids. He's looking for votes. We had 19 little kids murdered, and this guy wants to make it political. It makes me sick. Nobody should vote for that guy ever. Beto, if you're listening to this, you're a horrible person. You're a horrible person. You can't make this political.
Don't make me say something.
So, just real quick, I just kind of looked it up online, just kind of interesting. In regards to Sandy Hook, just to recap, it was December 14, 2012, where it happened in Connecticut. Actually was, I was actually a state officer with Connecticut Powers when I was an MTA cop for about 9 months after NYPD, so I'm familiar with Connecticut. 20 of the victims were children between 6 and 7 years old, and 6 were adult staff members. Earlier that day, which is very interesting, a similar story here in regards to Texas, where it says that before driving to the school, Lanza shot and killed his mother at a home. As a first responder arrived at the school, Lanza committed suicide by shooting himself in the head. And this was 2012, so now we're talking 10 years later. I mean, do we learn anything from this situation? I know it's different states. Do we do anything different? So that's kind of interesting that it's 10 years from that incident. The other thing was they recently been talking about in Texas. Texas official wants to arm more teachers. Some people saying it's a bad idea in general. Here we're saying that Attorney General talking about a new way to arm teachers to prevent mass school shootings. So I think it's very interesting for any of the listeners and followers. Do they think that it's a good idea for teachers to carry a firearm? The question is, people are going to say, like, if this didn't happen, they would say that the teachers, a firearm is not the place for in the classroom, and that the teachers are going to be intimidating the students. I mean, maybe the firearm just needs to be safeguarded inside the safe location, maybe not on their person. Maybe in each room there should be some type of, whether lethal, non-lethal, and there should be training every quarter.
Yep.
If you want to, here's the story. I mean, not much is going to change in regards to firearms.
Well, there's
so many firearms that are out there.
It's not going to
We're not changing anything in general, right? It's not going to change. So we have to do something for prevention. I mean, prevention we can do. Training we can do. Prevention we can do. But not what most people that are against guns, like, what do you think we do? Everyone talks about having a background process check. I mean, most of these people are mentally unstable. So I think this is a good question: is what do people do when you see someone unstable, changing, not on medicine in general? What should we do to notify law enforcement, Danny? Okay. Beja, knows a neighbor. The guy's walking around the house circling, I want to kill people. What do you do?
Beja, I'm going to tell you how law enforcement handles something like this. Say you called me and you say, hey, Danny, my neighbor's going crazy. He's saying he's going to hurt other people. He's going to hurt himself. I'm going to tell you my experience doing it. In Pennsylvania, I could go there, and if this guy tells me he wants to hurt me or other people, I could take him for a mental health evaluation. So it's called
a citizen's arrest.
Yeah, it's police. We have the power to take him in custody. You actually could sign one, say a family member that you thought was unstable. You could sign it. I would pick him up and take him to mental health. But you as a family member could actually get something treated for mental health.
Okay.
Now, here's the thing. This all sounds great, but Dave will tell you take them to mental health. The mental health official will say to you, oh, well, they're drinking tonight. They're only saying this because they're drunk. Oh, they're high tonight. They're only saying this because they're high. If they weren't drunk and they released them, back into society after they said they're going to hurt people, they're going to hurt themselves. I had people go to mental health and be released by the time I got back to the police station after dropping them off. Mm-hmm. So our mental health system needs to be fixed. Walk around Vegas. Walk around downtown. Look at some of the people talking to themselves, walking around. We had a guy stab a cop and kill a cop last month here on the Strip. We have a problem with mental health, and until we fix that problem, these things are going to continuously happen. We have to fix mental health.
Honestly, you can bring that up and say that might be a solution. For me, really, the first thing that came to my mind was, we have school police everywhere, right?
Right.
I know it would look a little bit different to have security around, but hey, wherever there's a lot of people, there's security.
Yeah.
So, or law enforcement.
Right.
Maybe nowadays, because it gets worse.
Sure.
It doesn't stop. We're dealing with how many a year?
Yeah.
That maybe within the schools, we just need security or law enforcement around.
I totally agree. Here's the thing, and now I support
instead of giving the
right.
Because we can't really trust anybody. We don't know if their mental health, you just don't know those things.
I think if you're asking me, do I think we should go with security and cops instead of the teachers? I would say yes. I think you're giving the cops. Listen, we just gave $40 billion to Ukraine. Now, listen, I support helping Ukraine. I 100% do. If you see my TikToks, I do. But if we could afford to give, if we could afford to give $40 billion, we could give $1 billion to get all these schools in our country have a cop, so our children are safe. We need cops in our school. We need better security in our school. There's no way somebody should walk in our school with 2 guns and be able to kill 19 kids.
Which is a whole nother conversation, because our school systems are not being funded the way that they should.
Exactly. And you know what's going to happen?
And the police officers aren't either.
Do you want me to tell you what's going to happen, Beja? Nothing's going to happen, though. Nothing's going to happen. We're going to talk about this for a month, and nothing's going to happen. You know when it's going to be brought up again? When the next incident happens.
I'm sure.
Because they're not going to do anything. We need to secure our schools. We have to. Do you agree, Dave?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because next week we're going to have Aaron Manfredi, who is running for, in regards to the school system. And it'll be interesting to see what his thoughts are in regards to, I think a lot of it deals with all the school systems, I just want to recap with him because he's coming next week. And we never had someone talk about schools because I'm always interested with all this marijuana money that's supposed to go to fund our education. If education is really bad in this particular state,
or the high fees on parking, and it's supposed to go to the educational system.
Yes. The question really is, where is this money going? Why can't we raise the salary for teachers and stuff like that? I always thought the marijuana money was supposed to take care of that problem. But he's coming on, and he is very involved in the community, specifically with the schools. And it'll be very interesting.
Yes.
Stay tuned, everyone.
And I don't know if you know this. I mean, there was a teacher assaulted at the school. We talked about that. We had a teacher here in Nevada assaulted and sexually assaulted at the school by a student. Did you know that?
There's a lot of little things that go on in general. I mean, I don't want to say this, it sounds horrible to say, but it's not a perfect system. But of course, we don't want criminal activity to take place.
SHIT happens.
Yeah. But I mean... These teachers, the teachers are really saying that they're unsafe. I've been watching it online, and some teachers are resigning. They're saying they're unsafe at the school. And, that's a problem. I see the future kids being homeschooled. I really do, because our schools are unsafe. I'll be honest with you. I never thought I would say this. I would consider it if I had a child now. I mean, I'm old. I'm not having a child. But if I did, I would consider it.
And we all have children, okay? Every time we drop our kids off, we're thinking we're going to pick them up. We're expecting to pick them up at the end of the day.
Yes.
I've gone through my own little situations where, my child she'll be 11, but at the time she was 8 and I had gotten her a phone because I had a couple scares where the bus didn't even show up on time to drop my kid off. Oh. And the phone number to get through to the Clark County bus, I couldn't get through to anyone. I didn't know where my child was.
Oh my God.
There was a time the bus was stuck on the side of the road with no gas. I don't know how the system, but to me, you pull into the yard, you fill it up. Like, there's no way that you should be stuck on the side of the road with no gas. Okay? So, again, 8 years old, you have a phone. Screw that.
Right.
Because I'm already having a heart attack. I can't imagine being a parent and knowing that there was an active shooter at the school.
It would kill me. It would kill me.
If I have a heart attack just because... I cannot.
All right, so what else should we... So I guess if we had a perfect situation, we're not going to get rid of guns. So we talk about prevention. Right. We talk about education. We talk about maybe getting... people say security. Like, why not just have the police already? Spend a few extra dollars. I mean, being cheap about it,
Don't they do
How many
that
more
in New
schools
York?
are there?
Sorry, my favorite movie is The Last Dance, and from over there, that's high school too, or college, or so, I don't know. But they would come in, little.
Well, there's normally it was more like it wasn't school police. They didn't really have firearms in New York City.
But you had to go through the metal detector to get to school.
I guess with certain places in general. But here's the story: most of these situations are not being taken place from people in the school.
Right.
It's people that are coming into the school that are just basically mentally ill. So I think what it comes down to is, it's sad to say, it goes back to mental health. That our mental health system needs to be better, and with notifying the police. I think what it comes down to is that you can go online to social media and say, look, I'm thinking about killing people, blah, blah, blah. What are you going to do? Unless you really think it's a threat. A lot of people say some crazy stuff out there. Law enforcement, the truth is, probably doesn't have enough manpower, which is crazy to say and sad to say, because most times law enforcement always say, we don't have enough manpower.
Right.
It's never enough manpower. You can have 500 cops more, they still not enough.
Well, there was an article where he actually had reached out to somebody on Instagram, and it was a lady, and he asked if she would post his guns on her Instagram or tag him.
Right.
And she's like, what? Like, what are you talking about? And then after everything happened, she was like, I'm so sorry. I reached out to the families. I'm so sorry. If I knew that this was going to happen, I wish I fell asleep and I would have been awake for this. He did tell me that something was going to happen and to keep my phone close to me because, so he told someone.
Right.
Some random person. She didn't know him. He didn't know her.
And here's a question for both of you.
So it's like being aware of stuff like that, or if you see stuff like that, say something.
Right.
We always talk about this. Say something.
Right.
Even if it's the littlest things, say something.
I think people just are afraid of just calling the police. People just don't want to deal with the police.
They're intimidated by them.
It's true.
And even with my kids in the car and stuff like that, God forbid the seatbelt's off. You're like, well, the police are here. Back on.
No, you don't.
The problem is you gotta realize, what do we teach our children? Myself, when I see a police officer, and it was some event in downtown, I had the kids go up to actually the police officer, shake their hand, say hello, explain they're here to help. A lot of families aren't teaching that.
Right.
Most people are afraid of the police, but I think that we have to do a better job, as parents with our children to educate them about what to do. I think we have to educate them that the police are our friends, but of course, if we do something wrong, of course, they're trying to correct the behavior, explain what policing does. And then I think that people in the community basically have to, get more involved. And we used to say something which is very interesting. Recently, I've been saying it a lot. Some people have said, because we offered the reward money for finding a body in the barrel, like, what are we doing? Are we just trying to, go viral or stuff like that in general? The goal was that it was a crime prevention initiative just to get people's attention, and it went viral. But the whole point is, do you think that if I'm a criminal right now, that I'm going to go to Lake Mead and try to go commit a crime with all the people that are watching now, and then, maybe they're in the water? Like, people are watching more in Lake Mead than ever before.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So if anything, I'm preventing crime from taking place in the summertime, because we made it aware that there was a situation, even if it was from years ago.
So don't think you can drive down to Lake Mead and dump a body.
Exactly. That's the goal. It's the number one rule in Las Vegas.
But hey, we should be teaching. Sorry, just to.
But if you know someone that is going to do that because they're mentally unstable, please notify the police by calling 911, because there are some people that are crazy. And we've had, there was the one kid, was the kid in the refrigerator that it was the boyfriend killed the child and placed him in a refrigerator. I mean, people out there are mentally unstable, and we have to notify the police, but sometimes the police are handcuffed themselves because they cannot go out and just arrest people for certain things. But you got to notify things. Now, I think also we need an increase in intel in regards to whatever law enforcement agency in every single state, whoever's doing intel for the local police department needs to be really monitoring social media, Instagram, TikTok. And I know there's a lot of different apps. I mean, it's crazy right now how many apps are out there. But
they could say a bad word and you will get flagged for it.
Yes.
There needs to be those, that's
like kind of Big Brother.
SEO. Yeah.
Yes.
No, seriously, like certain words.
Yes.
That has to do with that, guns, that like anything like that to review. I agree with that. I think with the
NSA, like if you started chattering about you wanted to kill a president,
you can't say bomb in the airport. You shouldn't say bomb on the freaking.
Right.
But,
I agree with you.
So I think we need a lot more things going on in general. So at least we're talking about it in general, and I think that we can. One of the things that we were going to do, Beja, we were talking during the week, and we haven't got a chance to talk about, is one of the things that we want to problem solve a show, and it may be interesting even for Beja, who's not in law enforcement, is to be involved in it as well. Is that Danny and I spoke about that from the problem solver show, that since Danny actually specialized in active shooter training, that we wanted to go out to local schools, whether not just Clark County School District, because a lot of times Clark County School District will have their own active shooter training in general. The question is, when will they get to it? There's a lot of schools. Right. One of the things I think Danny and I mentioned that we could there's the problem solver show in regards to us being retired law enforcement, that we can go out and do training.
Yes.
And like I said, Danny is more of the expert, even though
we'll do it for free too. And we'll come out for free.
Listen, and not to cut you off, I'm so sorry, Dave, but you said within within the home, within the community. I was going to say in the school system as well.
Yes.
It sucks that we're having to teach our little 4 or 5 whatever year olds, or elementary kids. Right. Okay, but that is amazing, and I think that is something that we should do. We are going to do it. I taught it for 15 years. I want to teach it again because I felt good when I taught it. So here's the situation. If Clark County School District, has their own officers and they're teaching, that's fine. Right. But there's a lot of places that are daycare places, daycare facilities, private places, a lot of the religious schools, whether it's Jewish, Lutheran, Catholic, whatever it may be, that we wanted to offer in regards to... Churches would be good too. Yeah, that's true. Very good. Everyone.
Yeah. In regards to any type of active shooter training. And what we'll do is on the Problem Solver, the problemsolver.vegas is an app, which I always tell people every single week. But we're going to have a spot where it talks about training, active shooter training, where you can go online, put your name, phone, and what location, whether it's a church or synagogue, whatever it is. So if they want some extra training, we can show them the curriculum that Danny's worked on for many, many years. We can show them the curriculum in general. We can come for free. And even if it's just educating them in general, we can do that. Personally, if you ask me, I think that now that it's a hot topic, why not the next 30 days, ramp up some training? Because you never know. Yeah. People think that this just happened in Texas. This could happen in Las Vegas tomorrow. Yes. Not that we want to scare people, but for the next 30, 60, 90 days, I think that Danny and I in the show, The Problem Solver, the goal is to help the community, help solve this problem in regards to education, awareness, prevention, give some tips in general. So we are going to offer that. We actually did a news release, I think, that came out today, in the local media, just stating that we would actually, as a Problem Solver show, that we would be more involved if they want it. If they don't want it, it's fine. But at least that you can say that we didn't help solve a problem in regards to education and awareness in regards to the topic that we were going to go out there. If law enforcement is busy, then we can help out. And a lot of times I will say, when I taught the DARE program in general, it was more for Clark County School District, but they didn't have enough manpower for the churches, the church groups and the synagogues, like the Hebrew day schools and stuff like that. There was never enough manpower. So I remember some officers that if they went on their own time, they would teach it in a program, and whether or not, some people could be against that, because he was doing it on his lunchtime, whatever. But I mean, the bottom line is that if we can do it, we have the training, and it's something that I'm sure there's other retired cops or detectives out there that have gone through the training, that if anyone wants to help us as well, we can go through the curriculum that we have, set it up, go through it, make sure they're certified by our standards, and go out and help out. It doesn't cost any money whatsoever. We're giving back to the community. So I think it's great. And Danny, we'll take lead. Danny, thoughts about, letting the community know about what we want to do?
Dave, this is, let me tell you something, and I'm not bragging. My course is good. Like when people go through my course, they come out of there because I don't sugarcoat anything. I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear. I'm going to tell you how to survive the incident. And people loved it. When they came out of my course, they're like, I'm glad you didn't sugarcoat anything.
No baby talk.
Right. You told us how to survive these incidents, and you told us there might be a way that you have to fight the shooter because you're going to have no other choice but to fight the shooter. So we go over that. We go over everything. My course usually is about an hour and 15 minutes, so we can do it very quick, and we're to the point. So I'm excited about it. I can't wait to do it. I will do it anywhere, anytime. I will help anybody.
I'm excited and emotional at the same time.
Yep.
It's just so sad that we have to do this.
I know we're a little, we have our TV show to do tonight, but I just want to bring one question up to you. My daughter texted me, and she said in Texas, I guess it's 18 now to get a gun. Okay.
I mean, that's what it's. The shooter turned 18. He went and bought those rifles.
So how do you feel? How do you guys feel about an 18? I'm going to give you my point, and then I'll throw it off to you guys. Like my daughter's like, Dad, do you think an 18-year-old should have a gun? And I said to my daughter, she called me this morning. I said to her, honey, I know what you're saying, but you got to look at it this way. We send 18-year-olds to war. Mm-hmm. So we give them a machine gun and say, go to Iraq, go to the Middle East, and fight for our country at 18, and we give them a gun. But yet, they can't buy a gun here or they can't drink a beer here. So you can't drink a beer, but we give you a gun to go to Iraq. So do I think an 18-year-old is mature enough to have a gun? I'm going to say no. But yet we let him go to war. So if we let him go to war, how do we not let him have a gun? Do you know what I mean?
That's a very good point.
Yeah. I mean, and we don't let him drink. But we give him a gun and let him fight in a war, but he can't have a beer. It makes no sense. I can't believe that we even do this.
And honestly,
it makes no sense.
I'm ready to take my daughter to the gun range and let her practice shooting.
My daughter
She's
has.
only 10.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good thing.
Okay, so the bottom line is that I think we could talk about this topic for hours.
Right.
The bottom line is the Problem Solver Show is going to help out. We did a news release to the community. We're available to help out. We'll probably take this video and share it as well. But the bottom line is we are trying to help out in the community. So with that basically being said, I appreciate you guys' input as well. Just real quickly, if we could throw on the ProblemSolver.Vegas app. I just want to share something real quick, and then we're going to end this, and we're going to film for our TV, which is channel 14, which is Tuesdays at 6 p.m. channel 14. But real quick, the Problem Solver, I'm not sure, people, may not see it. It's a tool. But real quickly, the tabs on the left, just go through real quickly. If someone has a problem, they can click on the problem, and there's all kinds of different problems. When you click on it, it takes you name, phone information. We have traffic camera situation. If people get into an accident, they need traffic camera video footage. We have traffic camera footage that we're working with some traffic camera companies that will supply video. If you get into an accident, and you're injured and you need video footage. We have reward money basically set up right now for the body in the barrel situation over in Lake Mead, even though there's restrictions, right? You need a permit and so on, which we're working on as well. If there's divers that want to help us, we are still looking for divers. We're trying to figure things out in regards to what we could do, our efforts as the Problem Solver Show in regards to getting divers out there legally with getting permits and so on. The next one is crime tips. Anyone has any types of crime tips, we're working with Crime Stoppers in Nevada, and the Problem Solver Show as well is offering reward money for any types of tips, whether it's misdemeanors, gross misdemeanors, and felonies for any types of arrest. Crime Solvers, which is something new that we were talking about, that we just recently did a news release as well, that there may be a spin-off starting in August 1st that we would be doing a Las Vegas Crime Solvers TV show where we do some reenactments of crime and offer reward money and try to bring up old cold cases as well. We have the other one, which is Ukraine. We had someone here from Ukraine who we're trying to support the Ukrainian people. There's some nonprofits that if you want to donate any money, these were specific to a Ukrainian woman that works in the legal community, that she recommends certain Ukrainian nonprofits that we know for sure are helping people. So some amazing stuff that we have. I mean, we're basically covering all kinds of different problems in the community. We have also events. If any events are coming up, if you want to be a guest of the show, if you want to be on the podcast, then we also have social media, which takes you to Facebook and Instagram in regards to us posting things. We have a program where it's preventing for burglaries, which is a free screw program, providing screws to people where it's a 5-inch screw where you put into your strike plate in order to prevent people from breaking your front door. So you can click on free screws if you want to participate in that program. Then we have resources if you want to help the homeless community. If someone's in jail and need help with bail, we work with local bail bondsmen. And if you want to meet any of ourselves, Danny Miner basically is a retired cop. We do like meet and greets with people. I actually got a phone call today before coming here. It's a retired.
Did somebody want to meet me?
Yes. That's when you said meet and greet. I'm like, whoa, hold on. What happened here?
Well, these days with getting a little bit of the publicity in regards to the body in the barrel situation, I literally got a phone call before from Blue Line Group, which is retired police officers. They wanted me to come speak September 6th.
Okay.
So there are some groups that are asking us to come speak. I know I got several phone calls. They're looking for Beja to come out.
I noticed that, yes. The one YouTube video, they didn't like me and you. They only like Beja.
Yeah. Beja's become the section taking over. Problem Solver 2023 is just going to be Beja. No one else would be there. Yeah. She's laughing.
I don't know what to say.
And no, Beja's great. And
Thank you, everyone.
So Beja's getting like a fan base now, We're going to have people outside Sticky Pie Studio here in 215 Rainbow like, we want a signature. We want her. Can we get a photo with her?
We're going to have to get people to watch you to your car to make sure you get out safe. And
I do like,
we're going to have to have a bodyguard
I do like to hear my name, though.
Do you?
So...
They actually always say that you're supposed to mention someone's name a few times. It's like adrenaline rush,
Is it really?
Danny.
I feel like it's just more personable.
Yeah.
So anyway, bunch of stuff on theproblemsolver.vegas. So again, we're trying to do everything possible. And then now the new tab that we'll add is training for active shooter training, which is again a very serious topic. So again, we are doing everything possible as a problem solver to help, whether it's local here or now nationwide in general. So
there is no problem you can't
that we can't solve.
You're right.
Unless you've got herpes or something.
Well, we could come up with a program for herpes. We're gonna have to have a doctor here, and we're gonna have to. There'll be a new tab that says "Prevent herpes in the Community," and then we'll.
I feel like that was out of line. I apologize.
No, it's
good.
It is a problem.
It's a problem.
We have to solve every problem that's out there.
Yes.
We'll have to probably do news with Beja solves all problems, and she's on an initiative to solve the herpes problem in the Las Vegas community.
Yes.
Anyway, so
thanks for tuning in.
So Beja's solving problems. I like it. She's being creative. The goal is to be creative. It's important. Anyway, so I'm David Kohlmeier, the problem solver. I appreciate everybody listening here for our live podcast. Again, Thursdays 4:30. Whenever we put on our makeup and we get on the show, approximately 4:30. And then
I'm always here at 4.
That was an attack.
I'm here at 4.
That was an attack.
I'm here at 4.
When I was talking about makeup, I was talking about Danny, because Danny's always put on makeup before the show.
I'm old. I got to put up the wrinkles, get the wrinkles.
Beja's always here on time. I don't know what you're talking about. Anyway, so that's basically Thursdays at 4:30, live podcast. Yeah. Tuesdays, channel 14 for anyone that's in Las Vegas. Also, they can go to yourview.com if they're in another state. Or actually, I don't know if you know, we made the Indonesian TV. So, if someone in Indonesia wants to watch channel 14, local Las Vegas, it is on YourView, which is YURView.com. Or go to theproblemsolver.vegas, click on the podcast, and then it'll take you to seeing us live in general.
Get Cox.
Someone actually messaged. They wanted to see Danny live. They wanted a live feed.
I'm sorry.
They wanted a live
internet service.
They wanted a live feed of Danny at his residence in general. They wanted a live feed at your house. Is what one of the requests were.
Did they really?
Yeah. No, I'm joking. So anyway,
I would do it right at the pool.
So anyway, Danny Miner, thanks so much for co-hosting. Beja Rivera, thanks so much for co-hosting as well. You guys are amazing in general. So every single week, stay tuned again. Be safe out there, and we'll see you next week.